Hey, what's going on, y'all? Thank you so much for tuning into The Straight Goods. I am your host, Sheldon Smith, and today I'm going to discuss a few things and just give you my take on what's going on. And I must say, what's happening nowadays is so bananas. We have the American election going on. And we have so much other stuff going on in the world. I mean, look at what's happening in Venezuela, China doing its thing, the tension in Syria, the fighting and so forth. I mean, it's just a lot of crazy stuff going on, man. But, what I'm going to start off talking about the election going on in the United States right now. Where we have Donald Trump alongside Ted Cruz and another gentleman. Last name is Kasich. I mean, I don't even remember this guy's first name because, quite honestly, he's a non-factor in this whole election. And then, of course, on the Democratic side, you have Hillary Clinton and, of course, Bernie Sanders. My take on everything that's going on right now is that it's just theater. For those that, like to watch their reality television, or you like to watch certain shows like Game of Thrones or House of Cards, whatever the case may be, I'm telling you right now, there is no better theater right now going on than the U.S. elections, these primaries and, everything that's going on. Quite honestly, it's, to me, this is the most important election ever. This particular election. For us here in Canada, our election happened last year, and Justin Trudeau got into power, and I predicted that 2 years before the elections even started. I said that if Justin Trudeau throws his hat in, he will definitely win the election, and it's something that you can see that it's been planned for years to get him into power. And it's not that I'm against him or any of the other candidates, but you can clearly tell that it was meant to be this way. I mean, after all, look at what he's done so far. He hasn't come through with any of his promises as of yet, which is, what politicians do anyways. But more importantly, for those out there, the silver and gold collectors, Justin has sold off all of our gold. Canada has no gold. None whatsoever. We're pretty much like, we're in the same position as Venezuela, in that we don't have any gold. No gold whatsoever. Nothing sitting in our vault or vaults or whatever at the Bank of Canada. It's been sold off. We are goldless. I know I keep stressing this and I've said it many times, but man, what can you do when you don't have any gold, man? When your country has so much debt. All right, now we're not as bad as things aren't as bad as they are in the United States, but I'm pretty sure if we were to to put that per capita, we'd probably be relatively the same. All right. We're not in the trillions of dollars, we're in the multi-billions of dollars, but still, it's still bad. And we don't have any gold. No gold. Nothing to bargain with, man. What are we going to do? Bargain with lumber and water? I mean, yeah, sure, there are going to be important things down the road. More so water than anything else, because I believe that water will be the new gold, and that's what everybody's going to be fighting for down the road. And it started way back in the 70s and the 80s, with companies buying water rights in municipalities. T. Boone Pickens is a perfect example, and it continues to this day. Coke, Nestle, Pepsi, all those guys, are just buying up water, and the good water obviously goes to them, and then of course we get whatever's left over, so to speak. I mean, it's been happening in certain cities, many cities, I should say, across the United States. I remember there was an incident that was going on a couple of years ago in India about Coca-Cola and one of their bottling facilities. Here in Canada, there's not much that I know of at the moment, but I do know this, that our water, Dasani, one of the companies, the water basically comes from the tap. It's tap water that comes out of the city of Brampton. Again, yes, that's tap water that comes out of the city of Brampton. So, I can buy a whole bunch of empty bottles myself, bring them home, print up some labels on my computer, and basically run my tap all day and fill up all these bottles, man, and then just label them, and I can turn around and sell them for a handsome profit. Essentially, that's what Coke is doing. They're just doing it on a larger scale. Sorry. But anyways, let's get back to the U.S. election, man. Let's get back to the theater that is going on. So, you have Donald Trump doing his thing. And Donald, when he initially came out, he had his thing, about the Mexican border, still talking about the Mexican border, about Muslims entering into the country, about women and, certain rights. And, a few other things. Of course, David Duke attended one of his rallies and so on. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not a supporter of any of them because I'm not American, obviously. But I'll say this, though. If I had to choose a candidate to become the next president of the United States, it would probably be Donald Trump. And I'm gonna tell you why, all right? Out of all of the candidates, Donald Trump is the only one so far that we can see that is not an establishment person. All right, we know Hillary. Hillary's entrenched. Hillary is already owned by the corporations. She is an elitist. You just look at Hillary and you could just tell that, no, that is not the right decision. That's not the right way to go, because she's just going to put America into so much trouble. All right. Then you have, of course, on the we're going to stick with the Democratic side. You have Bernie Sanders. Bernie with his socialist plan. I don't even really think that Bernie even believes that his plan can work. All right. We jump over now to the Republican side. And, you have Marco Rubio, who just recently dropped out. Only God knows why he was still in the race. All right. You also have Ted Cruz. My vibe when I see Ted Cruz and when I hear him, he's just not an honest dude. He's just your typical politician. He's going to say all the things he wants to say that he thinks people want to hear. And, a lot of people are falling for this stuff. But I'm telling you, man, this dude is an establishment man as well. All right. So, for those out there that believe in conspiracies, this is what's happening as well. But I'm going to tell you this as well, man. You don't even have to believe in conspiracies or be a conspiracy theorist or wear a tinfoil hat or whatever people want to say. All right. At the end of the day, reality is reality. It's just that certain people catch on to things much faster and much sooner than everybody else. It's more about being proactive and finding out the information rather than being reactive when the stuff actually happens. All right. So, I do have a lot of respect out there for a lot of people that bring the truth, all right, to the public. Alex Jones is one. Janice Maltby is another. There are quite a few that just aren't coming to my mind right now, but there are many, all right? The U.S. election right now, quite honestly, Donald Trump right now is the forerunner for the Republican Party. And I honestly think that Donald can win the GOP. I think he can definitely do it. Can Donald become the United States president? I don't think so. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think that there are many nefarious, many evil forces at work right now that are going to do whatever they can to make sure that Donald Trump does not become the president of the United States, and that the existing elitist plan continues as it was. You have Obama now that is coming out of power, that will be stepping down later on this year. Now, he might step down, he might not step down. It really depends on what his game plan is, because it's really funny that, Antonin Scalia passed away a couple months ago. I don't mean funny in the sense that, it's a joke or whatever. I mean, it's just, it's the timing and everything around it. It's suspicious. All right. That, a Supreme Court judge, this guy's a judge for life, appointed for life. And he's found dead in a hotel room. And, the police officer pronounces him dead. The judge on the telephone agrees and says that he died of an apparent heart attack, and let's call it a day. No autopsy. Let's just bury this man and boom, let's be done with it. All right. Then you have things out there. You have stuff circulating indicating that Scalia's body had bruises, all sorts of bruises all over it. There was a puncture wound, so to speak, right in his left chest. All right. And in addition to that, the pillow was on his face. A pillow was on his face, man. So Scalia is a Republican-leaning judge, all right, and he and another judge had plans apparently to eventually bring America back to becoming a republic. That's what I've heard, and that's what I've read so far. But all of that aside, now, Obama now has his opportunity to put in his own man or woman or whoever he wants to place, all right. That's more of a Democratic leaning judge. All right. So now he's going to, or now the Democrats will have a 5-4 vote in the Supreme Court, if things have to go that way. And how convenient, let's say Obama wanted to go for a third term and, people are going to say, no, that's not possible, rah, rah, whatever. Right. Well, let's say he does go for a third term. OK, America is in crisis mode. They're at war. Well, come on. When are they never at war, right? They're always at war. But, that can be the excuse that's used, one of the excuses that's used to retain power, right? And who's going to have to vote and say that, yes, okay, we agree. Let's go ahead with this. The Supreme Court judges are going to play a part in that, right? And I mean, you have 5 of your own judges, okay, that will vote for you, and 4 that obviously will vote against you. You won anyways. But that's if, it goes that way, okay? But getting back to Donald Trump and becoming the United States president, I honestly do not believe that he will make it that far. The reason being is because, quite honestly, he will get to a point where, these guys are going to eventually have to meet up with him, and they're going to have the quote-unquote talk. And say, listen, Donald, your campaign was good, and you've made it this far, but this is how things are going to go. And if you do not cooperate, then certain things will happen. Wink, wink, right? And I mean, it's going to be quite interesting, man. Very, very interesting. But let's see how it plays out, speculation and all that other stuff aside. Let's see how it plays out. And, I urge everybody, watch the entire process, man. Even if you're not from the United States, I know the world is watching anyways, but I'm saying just continue to watch it, man. Because you can't get better theater than this. You cannot go to Cineplex or Famous Players or AMC or even watch pay-per-view at home and get better theater than this. You can't, man. These storylines are juicy, and it's bananas. Now, moving on to Venezuela. All right, I've been recently reading about Venezuela and what's happening with them, and wow, man, can you say we got screwed over? I mean, it's amazing, man. Now, I don't know the history in terms of how Venezuela as a country loaned or borrowed money and spent their money and did this and did that. But I do know that when Hugo Chavez was in power, all right, remember Hugo Chavez was the one that was giving America grief for quite some time, right? With his comments and his thoughts and his feelings towards America and the government and so forth. And, Mr. Chavez eventually gets his gold back. He demands his gold. He gets his gold back. It comes back to Venezuela. Boom. Great. They all have it. All right. Now, their economy tanks, man. Like, it just goes into the gutter. All right. just into the gutter. You have back in 2011, 2012, I believe, a program was introduced called Fingerprints for Food. And what I've read is that basically, a lot of these stores would have run out of food, didn't have much food on the shelves. And for you to get food, and there were lineups, and for you to get food, you would have to submit your fingerprints, right? And, in a biometric scanner. And that scanner, of course, would be read, and that information would be relayed back to the government, because then they'd want to track that information. Okay, well, how much food are you getting? How often are you getting? What are you buying? Where are you buying it from? And so forth. So it's a lot of information. So number one, they have your biometric information on file. They have your fingerprints on file. And number two, they're tracking everything that you're doing in terms of your food consumption, right? Now, I haven't really gone into depth, and it's something that I want to research further. But again, that's something that was introduced back in 2011, 2012. I'm not too sure whether or not it continues to this day. But I can tell you this, though, with 100% certainty, man, that a lot of violence since then has ensued. All right. In addition to that, inflation skyrocketed. I mean, inflation went up. It's bananas. Then, of course, recently, Venezuela has since had to send their gold to Switzerland. I mean, they are in debt, man, like you wouldn't believe. So they send their gold to Switzerland. Switzerland will be assaying the gold, all right? So they're going to be inspecting the gold and then, of course, adding the value, all right, to the gold, and basically letting the banks know, or their creditors know, okay, well, this is how much the gold is worth, and they will apply that towards Venezuela's debts. But apparently they're in so much debt that gold won't even cover it, man. So once they get rid of their gold, all right, well, they've gotten rid of it, but once the gold takes care of certain payments, what do they have left, man? No, like, really, though, what does Venezuela have left? Okay? If someone's listening to this and you know more about this story, you've been on the ground, or you have relatives in Venezuela or whatever, let me know, man. I mean, comment below, create another video. If you have a link to a video of your own, let me know, because this is something else, man, that's happening. I mean, you have Greece that went down a few years ago. Greece is still being screwed as we speak, as you're listening to this. Then you have Spain, and you have Italy just around the corner, where they're in trouble right now. Venezuela, who knows where that's going to lead to in South America and what's going to happen. But it's quite interesting to see what these international bankers are doing to these countries. You can talk about Agenda 21. You could talk about so much stuff, but there is, I mean, you don't even have to be, adept into finances or world events or things of that nature. But come on, man, you can clearly see that there is a transfer of wealth happening right now. It is so blatantly evident. It's not funny. And if you can't see it, by the time you see it, it's going to be way too late. And what are you going to end up doing? You're going to end up complaining about all the jobs that left the country and went abroad, complaining about how the price of food has gone up and our dollar's not valued as much as it used to be, and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, come on, man. Wake up, man. Wake up. We as people, we need to be more proactive, rather than reactive. There's a lot of truth out there that a lot of people just aren't seeing, which is really, really sad. You want to use the term sheeple. I'm not really a fan of that word, but it does fit, I must say. It's just the blind leading the blind. We have TV, we have sports, we have so much to distract us from what's really, really happening, what's really out there, right? Then you have this, I'm going back to it, whatever, you have this U.S. election going on, and the theater is right there, and all the reality that, if you thought certain things, if you thought, the process was clean and, and fair and this and that and voters mattered, please, man, just keep watching the U.S. election and you'll see what it's all about. And I'm not just saying that this is all about the U.S. Elections are like this all over the world, man. All over the world. But it's just that now we have the opportunity to see the world's most powerful country at this moment, okay, because I firmly believe it'll be China going forward. But the world's most powerful country right now having its biggest election ever. There will never be an election as big as this, because there will be so much change and so much stuff that will come out of this one election that's going to change the world. All right, America is going to, for sure, but I mean the world will feel the effect of it. But yeah, you know, it's really ugly as to what's happening. Again, you know, Greece got screwed with this whole austerity bull crap. And then, of course, Venezuela, what they're going through right now. But think about this for a moment, man. Let's go to Greece. Just think about this for a moment. Americans, Canadians, and, you know, other Western countries, England and so forth. Think about this for a moment, man. Okay, tonight you're going to go to sleep. All right? You're going to go to sleep. And God's willing, everybody wakes up, you know, the next morning. The next morning you wake up, you watch the news, and the news is just talking about bank closures, okay? This, that, and the other. So what is the natural thinking? What is everybody going to be thinking? Dang, I got to run to my bank before they close or something happens so I can pull all of my money. So by the time you actually run to the bank, you know, you haven't even brushed your teeth or washed your face. You just got your bank card, you got in your car, and you just took off, man, because at the end of the day, you got to get that cash quick, fast, right? So you get to the bank now, only to realize that you're not the only one in line, man, that there are, you know, 30, 40, 50, 100 people in front of you. And you want to know what happens? You keep going to the bank machine and nobody can get their money. Nope, couldn't put my money out. Nope, couldn't put my money out. Here, let me try my card. Let me try my card. Let me try mine. No money, man. Then a few days later, the government comes on, you know, says we're working on things. We're trying to do this, trying to do that. The government takes quite a bit of your money. All right, everybody's money. And then the government says, you know what? We are only going to allow everybody to pull out a certain amount of money every day. There'll be a limit. A limit of, let's say, $500 a day. Boom. That's all you can pull out. All right? To me, that's quite screwy. All right? Really, really screwy. You know, so many measures have been put into place on the Greek people. You can clearly see that, you know, at the end of the day, it is a resource grab. It is a land grab. That's pretty much what happened to them. It's an ugly way of doing it, you know, from the World Bankers side of things, the IMF, the Bank for International Settlements. Yeah, it's a pretty ugly way of doing things. But unfortunately, something like this is going to happen to many other countries, probably in different ways, but at the end of the day, the result will be the same. All right? Yeah, I mean, it's just bananas what's happening in the world today, you know? And I just say, you know, be as vigilant as you can. All right? Again, all of what I've discussed and what I've talked about is my opinion. It's my take on things. Of course, you're going to have your opinion. You're going to have your take on things. And I 100% respect that. All right? What I do ask is leave your comments below. You know, whether you agree, whether you disagree, whether you like it, whether you don't like it, you know, because honestly, I welcome all of it, man, because I'm all about discussion, man. I love discussing things. And yeah, you know, thank you so much for listening if you've made it this far, all right, because I know a lot of YouTubers and a lot of people don't listen past a certain amount of time, but I really, really, really do appreciate the fact that you taking your time to actually listen to what I've had to say. And yeah, man, you know, I hope that you have a blessed day and continue to be vigilant, continue to seek the truth, all right, because it is out there, it is in front of our faces, and you know, there is stuff that we can definitely do to make this a better world. But again, we all have to be on board. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.